Hello, welcome to our AMA session from our LinkedIn MEM group. We are here with a lot of people like MVPs. We have Microsoft folks with us, and we are more than happy to answer all your questions you send us beforehand, but also we will answer all your questions you send during this event into the chat. And with this, I will start with a short introduction round of everyone. I will start. My name is Yannick Reinhardt. I'm together with Niklas, moderator for today's session, and I'm a Microsoft MVP and a senior solution architect in the area of workplace, but also on AI. And with this, I will hand over to Niklas.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Yannick. I will moderate this session with you. And I think we have really great folks here from Microsoft, so product leaders, inventors. And we've also got Microsoft MVPs. And as you see my background, I'm in the cloud, I'm Windows in the cloud. Christian, this is extra for you. And with that, I'm handing over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Did you say Gannon, Nicholas?
No, Christian, I think was on mute. I think. But Gannon, just please go for it.
Sure. I'm Gannon Novak. I'm joining you guys from the Chicago area. I'm a cloud engineer. I do a lot of work with AVD and Intune. So happy to be here.
Nice. Joe, do you want to go next?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Joe Lurie. I work for Microsoft. I'm on the Intune product team, and I'm actually going to assign who goes next, and I'm going to assign Rudy to go.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay, so I'm Rudy Holmes. I'm Mr. Troublemaker, Mr. MDM, or give me a name. I don't care. So I'm a third-time MVP. So yeah, that's me. Joost, you're next.
Thanks, Rudy. Joost Glijsteen, Solution Lead Workplace, doing everything with Intune. Been an MVP for 1.5 years, enjoying it and doing a lot of stuff. Matt?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Matt Call. I'm on the Microsoft Security Engineering team. I work on the Intune product set as well as the Defender product set. And yeah, I'm excited to be here. And I don't remember who hasn't gone because I wasn't paying attention. I didn't know this would be like roll call and I had to figure out the order. So whoever's next, go next.
I will go next. I'm not sure if I will be the last one, but thanks for handing it over to me, Matt. Very smooth. I'm Christian Brinkhoff. I'm part of the Windows Cloud Engineering team, meaning AVD, Windows 365, RDS as well. And my role there is to develop experiences that bring Windows and Windows 365 and AVD closer together, so blend experiences. So Nicholas, your background is one of those features I've been working on with the team. So happy to answer all your questions on any of those products and beyond as well. So thanks for having me.
Good. Then I think Florian, you're missing.
Yeah, I'll go next. Hi, my name is Florian. Great to be here. I'm also an Intune MVP, work as a senior workplace engineer with UMB in Switzerland, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Okay, good. Then thanks to all. And with this, we can straight jump into the questions, and Niklas will show you how everything is structured and how we run today through this session.
Yeah, it's pretty simply set up. So we have a question. We've got someone from the community who asked that question, and we will also live update the questions in the background. But for those who already submitted the question within the commentaries, in the comments, we have prepared them and we can go through them right ahead. So I would say let's start with the first one, which comes from David Bilang. Shout out to him. A question regarding WDEC. Will there be an option in the future to flag applications with the extended attribute which were installed before the managed installer option in Intune was activated? So I think he points out to after an app was installed to flag it that it came from the managed installer in case we didn't have it before. Who wants to take this? Maybe Matt. because this is also maybe in the endpoint security area.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question, David. We are aware of the complication with rolling out Manage Installer to brownfield devices. I mean, the Manage Installer concept works very well when we roll it out to greenfield scenarios. And what I mean by greenfield is, the device, is online for the first time. I enable the Manage Installer scenario, and then, everything that gets installed after that point from a Manage Installer, is sort of tagged the appropriate way. We're aware of the complication. I don't know that we're going to solve it in exactly the way that you described. We're looking at ways not just to make Manage Installer easier, but to make authoring and configuring WDAC policy easier. There's a few people on my team, well, I shouldn't say on my team, they're my peers, who are working on this with the platform WDAC team. And we're excited to make some progress in that space. Will it look exactly like you're asking, like, hey, I turn on Manage Installer and then I can retroactively inspect all files and folders that were, sort of impacted by Manage Installer? Probably not. We're focused more on a future or a set of capabilities that make authoring and maintaining WDAC policy easier, because, allow listing apps, whether it's through WDAC or through EPM or AppLocker or whatever you want, anything that follows that pattern is historically pretty difficult to manage for most enterprises. So we're aware of that, and we're working on ways to make that easier for customers. I know it's probably not a satisfying answer, but it's the truth, and hopefully it sort of answers the question.
Thanks, Matt. Any additions here? Okay, then we jump to the next. Yannick, do you want to take this one?
Yes, sure. Let me read out this question from Dominic. Dominic asks regarding Windows 365, is there any plan at Microsoft to bring up a fully managed client which includes hardware and its OS? For right now, customers have to manage at least 1 to n Windows clients for each user, Windows 365 plus OS from the underlying hardware, if they are using company-owned devices for Windows 365 access. Christian, do you have an answer to this question? We can't hear you. I think you are muted.
I saw that. We need to build an AI plugin for unmuting when somebody's talking automatically. That's so much a lifesaver. Yeah, that's a very good question. And just to answer that most accurately possible, so we built a Windows 365 boot, which allows you to boot straight into a cloud PC from the Windows 11 login screen, which is a very simplified experience. If you look at like traditional VDI experiences, you first need to go to your local PC, open a client, and then in the client, click on that VDI, and then go into your second OS-based virtual machine. And this goes straight in. So that's already kind of simplifying the end user experience based in a reflection, or kind of in a reflection to traditional VDI. This question sits more on top of that, right? Like, what are we doing potentially in making the OS more like optimized for these experiences and potentially hardware and things like that? So first of all, what we just announced, like, I think it was the 5th of December, a new offering where you get Windows 10 extended security updates after October 2025 for free, included in the Windows 365 subscription. Meaning if you have a Windows 10 device, you want to stream Windows 11 or even Windows 10 from the cloud, you can get that without paying extra for ESUs. That's another extra addition of the offering of how can we build streaming experience that help you from like endpoints and potentially with a kiosk mode experience on top in the future. Now coming back to that question, we are investigating this scenario, and that's all I can say about it for now. Hope that helps.
Very, very interesting. I think there's a lot of potential in that, but we'll see what comes. So thanks, Christian, for answering this question. So next one is from John. He asks, he has a question. I've cleaned up multiple configuration profiles, deleting them where necessary, aligning them to settings where applicable. I look at assignment failures preview, locate the conflict, check the setting, and see the conflict is still showing up on a single source profile. Yet the conflict is with one policy as the other has been removed. How can I remove the configuration profile if a single policy is showing in the device conflict column? Maybe to bring this more into a direct question, How do you generally handle conflicts in Intune? Maybe Flo, you want to give an input here?
Yeah, sure. Of course, to answer the question, it will be a bit tricky because I don't know which setting and which conflict there was. But in general, yeah, of course, the overview of the conflicts is very useful to find out which policy has a conflict. Can help you, for example, if you have existing policy and then add a new one, then the first setting will be on the device and the second one won't be applied. And if new devices come, it can be either. So definitely, there's definitely a need to resolve those conflicts. The way you describe it with the resolving, deleting the other one, or removing the specific setting from the other one is definitely the way to go. I would do that as well. One thing to mention here, sometimes the report is not the latest, so you have to wait certain times. It also can help to reapply the settings or reassign it to another test device to see if it's really resolved or not.
Thanks a lot. Any more additions here?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that. How about this? People love conflict, so I'm one of those people. I think I probably explain a little bit about how Intune does reporting that might make sense or might make this a little bit clearer. So essentially what happens is when a device checks in, we keep a unique reporting entry for each user device combination that shows up, right? So what that means is if I check in on device 1 as user 1, that's a unique reporting record. And then if I check in on device 1 as user 2, that's a unique reporting record. Now, when we report conflict or you see a conflict on a line, we do our best to show you which profile those conflicts came from. So if you, have a device 1, user 1 checks in, and there's a conflict on that device, we'll show conflict and do our best to show both profiles. Now, if you were to delete one of those profiles or remove one of those profiles that were in conflict, it makes sense to me that you would only now see the single profile, the profile you're viewing as the conflict. Because if you think about how the reporting record would be stored in the back end, that reference would no longer be valid because the profile that's there no longer exists. What I would expect is that the next time that user device combination checks in, that reporting record is shown as success. Now, given the way that we do reporting in that unique user device combination, that could make it so, if that user on that device hadn't checked in for a while or hadn't checked in since you removed that additional policy, then it might show as conflict for an extended period of time. And, that's fine. We've looked at work in the past to, and I'm not sure what the current status of it is, but we looked at work in the past to only show the latest record from the check-in for the profile. That has other side effects and complexities, specifically around people who want historical data and shared use device scenarios, frontline worker scenarios, et cetera. So I won't say that we figured everything out yet, but we're aware that, this sort of multiple tuple per device issue can cause some side effects like the one you're describing. So the way that you should try and resolve this is the user and device that you're seeing conflict for, you should try that check-in to see if it resolves to success. Again, we won't automatically resolve from conflict to success because you've deleted the profile. We'll require the device to check in and then the device to confirm that the value in the profile is indeed successfully written. Hopefully that makes sense. Adds some more color to it. The other comments were definitely on point in terms of like avoiding conflict and trying to resolve them. I figured I could just add some more color to Intune infrastructure and why you might see that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Good. Nice. With this, we will jump to the next question. The next question goes around EPM. Is there any roadmap for EPM to support even more file types such as MSI or CPL and others? I think we have a full power of EPM with us. Who wants to take this question?
I'm not. I think Rudy's like the PM on EPM now, right? It's fine. Yeah, I can answer that.
You must.
Yeah. We currently, yes, it's on a roadmap. We're in active development for it. We understand that customers need this. We've been working on it for a while. I can't give you a date yet when we'll have it. If you have an NDA with Microsoft or you want to learn more, you should reach out through your account teams. But yes, we know we're building it. It's roadmapped. You can all feel confident in that. That's all I'm going to pretty much say on that one. So that way my kids can continue to eat.
Okay, good. Thank you for the answer.
Oh, still another EPM question?
Oh boy, I feel like I've been baited here. Just ask EPM questions. Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay, go ahead.
Honestly, I think, Matt, that they see your name and they flock in for the EPM
for
questions.
the EPM questions. Oh boy, here we go.
So this one comes from Marinos. Does Microsoft consider having EPM as a managed installer?
We've considered it. I think my opinion tends to translate to features in this area. My opinion is that being a managed installer is a pretty big responsibility. And I'm a little worried about the way that EPM has user interaction, specifically around our upcoming support approved scenario, et cetera. It's not as easy as just flipping a bit and making EPM a managed installer. That is technically pretty easy. I think we can ship that in short order. I think that the area we want to get more clear on is, what does that actually mean? And how can we build a scenario that makes sense with WDAC? I mentioned a little bit before in the first WDAC question, like, hey, managed installer is one way to easily create sort of a WDAC configuration with low cost and with low maintenance. But we're really focused on not just, making everything managed installer to make it easy. That's an implementation choice. But how can we make sure that, where you interact with application metadata, whether that's with EPM, with WDAC, with AppLocker, with uploading apps, et cetera, how can we make sure that you can use all this data that's sort of accumulating in your tenant about applications and easily author and configure WDAC policies? So, some of my peers are working really hard on this. EPM will be a contributor in this space because of the amount of data we have about apps that elevate. So I don't know that the answer is just make EPM a managed installer. I think that, on the surface, that might seem like a really quick and easy solution. When you start digging into the implications of doing that, it becomes less clear. But we fully recognize the need to make that WDAC to EPM integration stronger, and to make sure that, when you do elevate stuff through EPM or EPM is involved, that easily translates to WDAC policy. Whether that's managed installer or not, the jury's still out. But we completely understand the ask, and I'm happy to say that the team, it's top of mind for the team, and they're working through what that integration looks like.
Awesome, cool. Next one.
Good. The next one is about AutoPatch. Since Windows AutoPatch is an automated patch management service for Windows product, does Microsoft Intune offer a complete rollback option after patching and finding issues on a certain category of machine? Just for an example. Who wants to grab this question?
I'll attempt to answer it, sort of. So Windows Auto Patch is Windows Update for Business as a managed service. Even with Auto Patch, you could do your own patching. You don't have to have Microsoft do the patching. So Windows Auto Patch, does it offer rollback services? I'm going to say yes, because I know that it does. How that rolls back, or if you need to initiate the rollback, that I'm not sure of. But I know that you can use Auto Patch and still get your patches rolled back when necessary. As long as you're talking Windows updates. Auto Patch also does Edge and Office. I don't know how rollback works for Teams, Edge, and Office, but for Windows updates, you can do rollback.
Thanks, Joe.
And it's only like a half answer, but as far as I know, yeah.
Great. Thanks for the answer.
Okay, next one is from Mark. What's the best way to study for the MSMD 102 exam? And are there any specific Intune courses or modules you recommend to help make my job easier?
So that MD 102 exam is a great exam. The way I've always approached exams, and because of where I've always worked, of course at Microsoft, I get free exams, but even before Microsoft, I used to take exams. And I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer, so I used to teach the classes for the exams. One way I've always told people to take an exam, to study for an exam, is to take the exam. Your company, if your company pays for you to take the exams, take the exam, see what you know and what you don't know, and study from there. If you pass it, great. You don't even need to keep studying. But if you don't pass it, you know what you need to brush up on. We also have a Windows Office, it's called Windows and Office Toolkit, maybe. I'll find it and I'll see if we can get a link to you. But there's a lab kit, the Windows and Office lab kit, where you can download, you'll get a tenant, you'll get Configuration Manager, you'll get Windows. You'll be able to practice on your own in your own time. You get lab guides and everything. Again, it's the Windows and Office lab kit that can help you study.
Perfect. So let's go to the next one. This one is specifically for Rudy.
No, not going to answer that. No. I still mind my my MVP status, so no. Nothing to share. I don't even know what Autopilot version 2 is, so.
That's a good question, Rudy, for you. But before, I will also say something about the question before. I think for this exam topic, there are also much more content out, what you can use to learn. For example, we have a book author with us today. This means there's also this Mastering Intune book, what you can also use to learn more about Intune. You can join communities where you also learn via this blog, a lot of stuff from Intune, and there is much more what you can also utilize to build up some knowledge around Intune, or to get more touch how the service and everything works.
Good. So answer to the Autopilot version 2 is just follow Rudy's blogs, and we don't know about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Also, just for clarity, it's not actually called Autopilot 2.0.
Nope.
Internally, we may be calling it that, but it's just Autopilot. Yeah. Like, pay attention to Rudy's blogs for information as more information is available.
Good.
Good. Niklas, do you want to take this question?
Yes, I can do so. I see it's also about EPM and WDAC in general. So Fabrizio wants to ask, are there any roadmap update sessions regarding WDAC, or also App Control for Business as it's now called? And also about user rules that were on the roadmap. Maybe we can first take these two.
Yeah, I can answer this again. It's great. Love WDAC. I love to see the interest in WDAC or in App Control for Business. I don't have a roadmap update that I can share here. One of the issues with working in the role that I work in is I don't know in my mind what's public and what's not. So in order to protect my employment, I'm going to say I don't have a roadmap update for you today. I'm trying to remember the second part of that question. Can we put it back up on the screen for a second?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. In AppLocker, I think we had user-based rules, and this was already on a roadmap at Ignite. But since there, I think we haven't heard about it.
Yeah, I don't have any update on user rules. Again, previous comment. The other thing that I wanted to add was, at Intune, in the Intune team, we support preview features in production the same way we support production features. So we're excited for you to try it out and give us some feedback. For us, the preview tag really means like, hey, we might make some changes to this feature before we GA it. If you have any questions on that, or you're still you want some more clarity on our support statements for preview features and some official documentation, you should reach out to your account team, your Microsoft account team. I believe it's on our doc site somewhere, or ask our support team to give you some statements around the level of support. But you shouldn't feel, I mean, you should be cautious with anything that's marked preview for sure, always across any product. I understand where that comes from, but we do a pretty good job of making sure that our preview features are ready for production.
All right, thanks, Matt.
No worries.
And let's go to the next question.
Yes, the next question is about Windows 365. Where do you see Windows 365 in 2 years? Maybe we can go through everyone in the call, and everyone can say quickly what you think, what is the status of Windows 365 in 2 years. Maybe Gannon, do you want to start?
Sure. Obviously, I think it's going to be more widely adopted, but what I'd really like to see is more easy integration with mobile devices. Be able to dock your phone, throw a mouse and keyboard on there with multi-monitor support. That's where I think it's going to go, and that's what I'm excited to see.
Okay, thank you. Then Christian.
I knew this one was coming to me as well. So first of all, I would like to share that Windows 365 is attaching two parts of brands that have been existing for a while in Microsoft. First of all, Windows. So Windows has been around for a while, as everybody on this call most likely is using some kind of a Windows device. And the other side is 365. And if you think about 365, you think about Office 365, Microsoft 365, other cloud products that made the transformation from like Office perpetual to like an Office in the cloud version and make it a SaaS-based product, web-based, all these things, right? And super simple to configure. That's exactly how you should think about Windows in the context of 365, moving Windows to the cloud. So where you should think about being like Windows in like the next 2, 3, or maybe 5 years is really that part of Windows as a reflection of the transformation of moving just Windows PCs to the cloud. So of course, most customers right now are looking from the VDI angle to transform to Intune management and benefit from Intune with VDI and consolidate the modern management infrastructure to just use Intune for physical cloud PCs as well as mobile devices and all these things coming together. But you should see Windows 365 as the future of Windows in this case. And rest assured, I always use the analogy on how this version of Windows, as you probably remember, has been pivotal in making Windows the operating system how it is today with the start menu, taskbar, and everything. That's just as pivotal Windows 365, AI, and Copilot will be as well. So let me stop with that.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Flo, do you want to add something here?
Yeah, sure. Like in the short term, I definitely see Windows 365 replacing especially some smaller VDI environments, because if you go to Intune for your managed devices, you're really fast in adopting all the configurations into Windows 365, and you can have an environment up and running with little effort without dealing with the load balancing and all the backend stuff. So you assign a license and some configuration, and you can already start doing some work, or you can give access to an external partner. So that's for sure something I see in the short term of 1 to 2 years, and afterwards, yeah.
I think we lost Florian there a bit.
That's the
Maybe it's
magic
all
of
right.
live
What
streaming.
Christian told us.
Okay, good. Thank you, Florian. We had some interruption with your connection, but let's jump to the next one. Rudi, do you want to express your view on Windows 365 in 2 years?
In the cloud, right?
Yes.
We can see it in the cloud. What else can we say?
That's the
That's
way.
a short version.
That's very short.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue?
So Rudy is called Call for Cloud. So we should all call Rudy in the future.
No. I'm too busy doing other stuff. I'm not sure what, but
Yeah. Joey, do you want to continue?
I'm sorry, was that to me?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Everything that everyone said. I think Windows 365 is going to be the standard for new hires. They can start on day one, even before getting their own device. For contractors, for vendors, for partners, it's going to be the standard. Whether that's in 1 year, 2 years, or as Christian was saying, 5 years out. Absolutely, though, it's exactly where we're going. We want you to be able to get your workforce, your partners, your friends productive as soon as possible. And if that means on day one, you give them access to Windows 365 from their home PC, from their MacBook that they're using at home, or from their mobile device. However you get them to get them access into work, Windows 365 will be able to do that for you very quickly. Florian was saying, sign a license, you create the user account, you assign the license, and they have the VM, the cloud PC very quickly.
Great. Matt, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. I'll take a little bit of a different spin on this. I'm talking to you right now from my cloud PC, from my Windows 365 device. And, for me, I sort of straddle the line between engineer and PM. So for me, Windows 365 has just really been a game changer from the point of view of, hey, I have my corporate device. My corporate device is accessible to me from anywhere. It doesn't matter where I'm traveling or what I'm doing. And I'll admit, at the beginning, as Christian knows, I was a bit skeptical that I could fully migrate to this sort of model. Just general perceptions around RDP sort of slowness problems, etc. I currently do not own a device, sort of enrolled into the Microsoft tenant. I use Windows 365 almost exclusively for everything. The only exception is when I travel to conferences with bad Wi-Fi, I tend to bring a device along with me as backup. But if you just saw me present at the MVP Summit or last year at MMS or over at Workplace Ninjas, I did all those presentations for my Windows 365 device, and I didn't have any issues. So, for me, what am I excited about for the next 2 years? The Teams integration and sort of video integration, just like we're doing right now, has gotten spectacular. The redirection stuff for local resources is incredible. I'm really just excited to see, how we deepen the integration between the Windows platform and Windows 365 or the cloud-based resources, right? Because right now, for me, it's just, I don't see how it could get any better. And I'm sure that Christian and his team have more tricks up their sleeves on how to make it better. So I think I just share my experience on that. Again, I'm biased. It says Microsoft in the tag, so maybe I have a biased opinion, but there was a critic in me in using it at one point, but now I'll tell anybody that'll listen. It's been incredible.
Thank you. Then Joost, we are also interested in your opinion.
Yeah. What I see at our customers in the Netherlands, it's spiking to be more adopted as well. Now doing it a lot for external contractors using it, used it as the same device as the other people are using, so the real users in their environment. So it's almost one-on-one, and we can use the same policies to it. So yeah, we got the security on top, and what I can see in 2 years, probably more and more of Windows 365 with the boot environment as well. Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Great. Good. Then many thanks to all for your opinions and your outlooks in this area. And then we can continue with the next question, Niklas.
Okay, this one is from Pratleb. Also, shout out to him. He's also got some more questions. First one is, would you implement the Golden Master to Intune as configuration as example? Someone want to take this, or was this unclear?
It's AVD, right? So I think we have to go to Christian for this one.
Well, I have a counter question. Is this in the context of Windows 365 or AVD? I think it is. So let's assume that's the case here. First of all, golden images is a term that has been floating around for like 20, 30 years. Citrix probably started with that. And it's not a very efficient way of doing image management, to be very frank, from my perspective. You put everything in a big chunk of like a VHD or something like that, and then you seal it and then move it to multiple PCs. For like education and such, sometimes it could be an easy way to flash your images and such. But for VDI, like imagine that somebody's not documenting what the person is doing, and then you need to revert your changes or know, like, hey, what happened in that image, right? Like, it's just a big kind of hassle to kind of reverse engineer that registry key that sits in HKey local machine and then blah, 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 Windows somewhere there. So we really recommend to not use golden images and use Intune for the sake of modernizing your endpoint management structure and environment as well with cloud PCs. Meaning you layer, and Joe knows this better than anybody else here, you layer applications, policy, settings catalog, everything just via the console and match that with Azure or Entra ID groups, I must say, as the new name. And then it's very structured. You just add a user in there in the group, and then it just configures all on the fly, and you can wipe the device and it just comes back in. So all those things are what we recommend to use, but we do know that lots of enterprises still use golden images for their VDI infrastructure, and we recommend to opt out of that. With Windows 365, we support custom images in the gallery, or in the Windows 365 blade, I must say. So you can do it, we support it, but we highly recommend to make it more efficient and lean to manage your images and just use gallery images, like clean images that will be updated every Patch Tuesday. And then with auto patch on top, you can simplify the update management even more. To do that in the future, to simplify the maintenance of your images. So that would be my recommendation. I'm curious if there are other arguments or other folks on this call they want to add extra flavor reasons to that as well.
I'm going to go on the side of, let's say it's not a virtual machine and we have just got a new laptop. You know, golden images, as Christian said, they've been around for 30 years. And in Intune, we don't use imaging. We use Windows Autopilot. So we use the image that comes from the OEM on the device, whether that's a Surface device or, Dell, whatever, HP, Lenovo. So the question on, are we going to use golden images? I'm going to put that on an Autopilot spin and say, because Autopilot doesn't use imaging, we don't have a need to do any kind of gold image deployment from Intune. Then there's the question of, well, I have to use Configuration Manager because what if I replace a hard drive, right? Joe, you said that OEMs come with Windows 11 already on them, but a replaced hard drive doesn't. So we're working on some other things within Intune as well to help with that scenario. But today, you put something on that hard drive, whether it's a recovery disk or repair disk, from the OEM, from the vendor, get it into Autopilot. And as Christian said, you get all the policies, all the apps, all the configurations, you're Entra joined, you get everything that you need relatively quickly up and running. Again, without that golden image.
Yeah, I can take kind of a counterpoint to what Christian had said. I do have some clients that don't have Intune for MDM, but they use AVD, for example. So for those clients, we do have a golden image that we use. I think the important thing when you have a golden image is maintaining it. So doing monthly maintenance, if a program needs to be updated, making sure that gets deployed to your image. And then, the other thing is just having the scalability. For those clients, if it's a larger environment and their AVD environment's in flux a lot, they're adding users, they're putting more workloads onto those hosts. It makes it easy to expand, or shrink the host pool. But specifically expanding it, you can add hosts, you can resize hosts a lot easier, especially if you're resizing to a SKU that, you need to redeploy the host. Having that golden image that's always updated is useful. But to that point, if Intune's in use, absolutely, that seems to be the way to go for provisioning new hosts and having all your app deployments and configuration profiles built into that and then applied to your AVD hosts.
Hey, Gannon, can you take like 2 steps to your left or right so we can see that? Yeah, it looks like you have a ninja cat hanging up on your fan. Here we go.
Yeah, he's up there.
Great. Okay, so second question here is more about hardware join. So let's skip that here for now. And the third one is quite interesting, which is about, is there any thought or goal to use a similar approach as PowerShell DSCs or declared state configuration in Intune?
Fine, I'll answer it. DSC is an implementation. I think along the lines of what Joe and Christian have mentioned about getting away from static sort of gold images, we see and we view Intune or any management authority, Intune, configuration manager, group policy, etc., as a desired state sort of or declarative configuration. And what that means, it can mean a lot of different things. But what it means is, as an admin, I define a configuration in my console, and then that configuration is effective on my device, right? Now, one way to implement that is with DSC. It's a hammer. Essentially, for those of you unfamiliar with DSC, it allows you to make a set of definitions, and then the platform enforces those definitions for you. Another similar way to do that would be just normal MDM policy management, but it isn't as structured or provide the same level of assurance at times as DSC. You can't really compare apples and oranges here. So to answer the question directly, like, are we considering, supporting DSC in Intune? It's not something that we're looking hard into right now, but as we think about the way that we enforce configurations long-term, or how that may change as we start to, further our goals to be the declared sort of management plane, DSC is definitely something that could come into the picture. DSC is more prevalent in the server management and server configuration world, or asset configuration world, or resource configuration world. So does it fit perfect? Is it the perfect solution for clients? I don't know. But we are interested in at least giving you the benefits that DSC provides, where the configuration that you declare in the console is the effective configuration on the device.
Thanks
that's
a lot.
That's a great non-answer PM answer. So hopefully you're all frustrated by that. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for the insights. So let's
no
get to the next one.
Okay, yes. The next one is from Yannick, and I saw that a similar question was also in the chat during the session. He asked about the status of multi-admin approval, if there is any plan to support more types within Intune.
Sure, I can take that one too. Unless Joe wants to take it. So do you want to take it, or do you want me to take it?
You can take it. Yeah, but mine is, you can take it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Goal is, our goal, I think we'll get there, is that all object types support multi-admin approval. Hopefully, as a customer, you can appreciate that that's a project that would take years to ship. So our team is working on building the multi-admin approval framework, which they've already done for several object types. Again, back to my previous comment of I can't remember what's public and what's not. I'm not going to name anything. But the goal is over time, policy is really high on that list, but over time, we would add support for the most critical object types in Intune first, and then hopefully round it out. Because we don't want to enter a world where we can't have some sort of distributed approval for changes on devices. Like, we think it's really important that as organizations mature their security models, and as organizations rely on Intune more and more and more, these critical changes can be authorized by several admins before rolling to production. So I'm all in on multi-admin approval. I know our PM who runs it's all in on it, and I think it's just a matter of time before we support policy and other workloads. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds really great. Did someone have something to add to this question? I think not. Then, Niklas, we can jump to the next one.
All right, we got another one on Windows Autopatch. A device registered in Windows Autopatch tenant status is changed from active to need attention after 48 hours because of the Windows Update GPO policies conflicting configuration. Microsoft is recommending removing the Windows Update conflicts. Can we resolve the conflicts without removing Windows Update or GPO settings? How does Windows Autopatch MDM wins over GPO profile work?
I'm going to answer the last question first. How does Windows MDM wins over GPO? Does not work for updates. So that setting is not applicable to Windows Update settings. So if you have a conflict in GPO and Intune with Windows Update settings, MDM wins over GPO is not going to resolve that conflict. The other parts of the question with can you put the question back up? I actually forget what the question was.
Sure.
Device registered in Windows Autopatch tenant status changed from active. Because of the GPO policies. So we do recommend removing those group policy settings. I personally am not on the Autopatch team, so I probably shouldn't be answering with any kind of authority, except to tell you that you should remove those conflicting GPO settings, and MDM wins over GPO does not apply to Autopatch and Windows Update for Business. Other than that, we can probably get you an answer to this, unless someone else here on the panel has that answer. But here in the AMA, I'd be remiss to give you an authority.
Yeah, maybe I can tell something about it or do something about it. I don't want any GPOs on my device when it's being managed by Intune. So that's the first step. So if Autopatch is coming in, I don't want any GPO settings anymore. You have to see where the GPO is coming from. Mostly they are doing it by the AU folder in your registry, and you can remove them with remediation script. And I've written there a blog about it, so you can find it over there. Or you have to check in other phases on if it's an hybrid joint device, but that's something we don't want either as well.
Thank you. Any more inputs? Okay, then let's get to the next one.
Yes, the next one is a question for iOS. Hopefully we have an expert in our round for this. The question is if it is possible to launch only a specific URL in the Edge browser in the private mode, and if this is possible, how to do this. Can someone answer this question, or should we jump to the next one?
I vote for jump.
I think we have to jump.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Niklas, then let's go to the next one.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I can do this. Any news on application protection policies for Windows? The only supported application now is Edge.
Yep, that is true. So app protection policies or MAM. MAM for Windows uses Edge right now, and that's currently we're looking at some other apps, but for the most part, most of the apps that our customers have been asking us for, Microsoft 365 apps, Teams, things like that, they can all be launched in Edge. And when you launch Microsoft 365 apps in Edge, then the MAM policies for Edge on Windows actually apply. When you do the installed apps, they do not. And that's our goal, is to keep that the way it is. So Microsoft 365 apps isn't currently something that we're really looking at, though we are looking at other apps. But right now it is Edge, as you say, Rob. So what my recommendation is to launch the apps that you're trying to get added, launch them in Edge, because probably you're asking about the Office and the Teams apps. But if there are other apps that you also want, you can give us that feedback to request the apps that you're looking for.
Cool, very good. Any more input here?
I can just add real quick on that. That policy will work with the progressive web apps too. So, if it gives the users a little bit more of a native thick client experience, then just going through the browser. I know it's still ultimately going through the browser on the back end, but those policies still apply, so they can, you know, add shortcuts to their desktop or taskbar for the progressive web apps if they'd like to.
Good. Okay. So let's go to the next one.
Yes, the next one is again a longer question. Our exclusion list on ASR is getting big. I'm thinking to leverage configuration as a code using Azure DevOps to have a clean picture. How do you guys handle huge exclusion lists? Isn't hard to keep it up to date? Instead of adding the inclusion list, we should make it locally on the computer, but it wouldn't help us to have a full picture of exclusion. And would you succeed to using configuration as a code here, and not in which scenarios you success that? Who can answer this question about ASR?
Yeah, I can say something about it, but yeah, it's the hardest answer to get. It depends. If it's applications you want to run or do something with it, you can use Defender portal as well to add the hash code to the Defender portal and allow it, so you don't have to use the ASR rules for it and the exclusions. But the other part, if it's getting long, I don't have a good answer for that one.
Maybe to transform this question a bit, is anyone using Azure DevOps to do automation with Intune, or how do you see that in general?
Using it, but the third-party tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add some. I'll answer this question. I'll take the bait. Yes, we do see customers that use DevOps and pipelines to control configuration and make assignments and do all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't say that it's a turnkey scenario. I'd say the people that I see doing this are on the advanced side of configuration management and config as code, which is not a bad thing. We should make that easier, and our team's thinking about that. When it comes to specific solutions around exclusion management, I will say a few things. The times that I see people get in trouble with exclusions, specifically ASR and AV exclusions, is when they try and create a single exclusions policy with millions of exclusions in it. That's not great. It's really hard to manage, and it's really hard to get visibility. Even if you were to know what all those exclusions are in the policy, conceptually, it becomes really hard for admins to parse that policy. You know, if you think about having one line of exclusions or one policy with 300 rows or whatever it might be, it becomes really hard to know what's in that policy and lose track. One thing I will say is I might regret saying this, but that's okay. Every area where we utilize exclusions in the console, whether it's ASR per rule exclusions, ASR exclusions, AV exclusions, or in other exclusions in the future, ones that we're building right now, those exclusion policies use what we call merge logic on the gateway, meaning you can't create a conflict with exclusions. Exclusions will always be put together and then delivered to the client. So if you have 5 policies and they all have 5 exclusions in them, we'll merge those exclusions and deliver them to the client in that fashion. And the reason why I point this out is I've been in several scenarios, and conflicts come up a couple times today, where people try and create all of these different exclusion lists for different businesses or different targets, and then deploy them all out separately. So when they need to change the exclusions, they have to change it in like 4 or 5 policies. I'd really encourage people doing this or concerned about this path to start considering a scenario where you create the exclusion once for an app or as part of a policy or a set of exclusions. Like, you logically group the exclusions and then you make multiple assignments for those exclusions, so that way they're easier to manage and visualize. So what I mean by that is, instead of creating a policy for business, a policy for finance, a policy for sales, and having 3 separate exclusion policies, all with exclusions you need for office, create one office exclusions policy and deploy it to business, to finance, to sales. And it sounds like a very small thing, but it'll help you keep a handle on your exclusions policies and understand what's excluded where. So that way it's less confusing, because if you think about, the first sort of scenario where I'm deploying a policy per business unit, if I change one of my office exclusions, I need to make them in 3 places. And, was I doing this at 3 in the morning and I missed deleting an exclusion or changing an exclusion? Who knows, right? I really challenge people to think about the way that they logically group those exclusions in Intune or in whatever tool that you use. So that way, you have not just flexibility of assignments, but it's easy for you to understand. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my PM answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Great, thank you. Okay, next one, short one. Can we replace OSD with Autopilot? Coming from Sarita.
It depends on how much you're doing with OSD. So yes, you can deploy new Windows devices from not deploy. You can have new Windows devices shipped directly to the end user and have them start up the device, click a couple of entries, and then get a enrolled device with all of your corporate settings and apps. Absolutely, you can do that. There are some things that we still cannot do today. Again, replace a hard drive. I mentioned that before, but we're working on some solutions to help even with that scenario. So can you completely remove OSD today? No, you cannot, but hopefully soon.
Good one, yeah. How do you see, maybe a question to the MVPs, how do you see it with your customers? Are they satisfied with Autopilot, or what is like one key thing that they miss? Maybe Florian, you want to take this?
Yeah, sure. That part with OSD, of course, can be a challenge or problem, especially if you move from a different system to Intune and Autopilot and want to migrate those existing devices, then it can be helpful to have a temporary solution for the bare metal deployment of those devices. For new devices, I see that adoption more and more, that they really work together with their vendors or their distributors to get like a clean Windows image, Autopilot pre-staged, and then ships to their end user and they're ready to go. So with that, we see huge success. But for a temporary solution, OSD is sometimes necessary.
Thank you very much. So let's do one last question, I think, Yannick, right?
Yes, the next question is a really interesting question. It's more or less about your experience. How do you convince customers to start that journey to a cloud native and Entra ID only joined scenario? Maybe Rudi, do you want to say something about this?
Because all the new futures are going to be cloud native. That's about it. Everything that Microsoft is going to work on will be cloud native. So if you want the latest, the greatest, the new stuff, you go cloud native.
And it's not something that we're saying at Microsoft that we want you to do all at once. You have 500 devices, migrate them all at once. You have 5,000 devices, 50,000 devices all at once. One of our more recent recommendations or suggestions, I suppose, would be all of your current existing devices, they can be hybrid joined. They can be co-managed with Configuration Manager and Intune. They can be hybrid joined. But as you replace devices, as you re-image devices, as just for whatever reason you're giving someone a clean, fresh device, whether they're getting an upgraded device or they're leaving the company and you're repurposing the device. Once that device goes through Autopilot, that device should start being cloud native, Entra joined, Intune managed. No more group policies, no more Configuration Manager. So we're not saying that you should move it all at once. We're saying new devices, new repurposed devices should go through Autopilot and be cloud native, as Rudi said. And all your existing devices, they can remain hybrid until you are ready to make that switch and start migrating, as many at a time as you can in your rings. So this is something that, and at the same time would also recommend that you move to Windows 11 if you haven't done that yet. So as you're getting these new devices in, they're going through autopilot. Make sure that those are Windows 11 devices. October 14, 2025 is literally around the corner. And you're going to run out of time if you haven't started that yet.
I think I want to make a point. I think, like, I work for Microsoft. Of course, I want you to go cloud only. I'm on the Intune team. Of course, I want you to go to cloud only, right? I think the important thing that, I spent my career before Microsoft supporting really large organizations. And even when I started with Microsoft, supporting really large organizations. And I think the point that sort of gets missed a lot when we talk about, cloud native scenarios is that every time that you deploy a hybrid joined device brand new for the first time, you're effectively restarting the clock on your dependency on on-prem infrastructure. And that's not just Active Directory, right? That's the VPN client that you require to get back on-prem. That's the attestation components, network access controls that you require to get back on-prem. That's any other sort of certificate management you do on-prem. Like all these things that you do on-prem, every time you deploy a hybrid joined device, you're effectively restarting the clock there. So like, at some point, it's inevitable. If you just look at the way that the landscape's going for the way people work, I haven't been in a Microsoft office before last week in about a year, right? So I think more organizations are going here. So if your customers are going to be more and more remote and you are building this, or I shouldn't say building, if you're fortifying your dependency on on-prem infrastructure for the life cycle of their device, you're doing one of two things. You're either A, creating a bigger sort of migration problem for you down the road, meaning now if I want to, move off or remove that dependency, I have to somehow manipulate this device while it's out in the wild, which is difficult, number one. Or number two, you're creating a scenario where you're keeping alive the connectivity components back to your on-prem infrastructure. And that includes not just the network layer, but any sort of network layer, any app layer sort of things that you require as well. So the sooner that you can start leveraging, a cloud-only sort of configuration, you can still have that dependency on-prem, but you haven't fortified it to the point where it can't be changed tomorrow based on some sort of configuration. And that's really the point that I think gets lost a lot of times is like, hey, I'm not ready for Azure AD Join for whatever reason, or Entra ID Join for whatever reason, right? But the point isn't Entra ID Join in particular. It's that, hey, you're restarting the clock for that device for the life cycle of the device, unless you take some sort of drastic measure. So that's really important. I'll get off my soapbox, but it's just something for the audience to think about as you start deploying and using devices new in your enterprise.
Okay, good. With this, it's already 1 hour over. I think, guys, you were good. We had covered more than 20 questions. But we will definitely make sure we were not able to answer all these questions, but we will make sure that also the remaining questions will be covered in the next session or maybe afterwards in the comments. And with this, I will say thanks to all our experts who joined today, who answer all these questions. Also, thanks to everyone who submit the question in the chat. I hope you like this format, and I'm really happy to see some of you in Paris, hopefully also some from the community. And with this, I will close this session. And again, many thanks to all for this contribution and for this nice session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.